I always believed in God. I never doubted my faith in Jesus. I tried to live my life, in as holy way as I knew how. I would go through phases where I would try and pray more, but then there would be phases where, I was still a believer, but I kind of went through the motions. My prayer, ever since I was very young, was, God, please bring me a church. Please show me a church where I feel accepted. And I did pray that every night. That was a very constant thing. I never dreamt it would be the Catholic Church, because at the time I had a lot of huge misconceptions about the Catholic Church. I thought it was a cult. I thought they worship statues. I had all these different weird preconceived notions. I started going to Mass with a girl who's my best friend, and I still thought it was weird. I didn't understand what was going on in the Mass. I didn't know what the Eucharist was. I didn't know the significance of the Eucharist. But I felt very, very drawn to the Mass. I felt very peaceful there. I loved that it was the same every time. It was the same everywhere. And it got me really curious about the Catholic Church. One day, after going to Mass for several, maybe a year or so, on and off going to Mass with this friend, I just sort of offhandedly said to her, I think I'm going to become Catholic. It was just something that kind of came out. I hadn't really planned on it or planned on saying that. And my friend's mother, who was in the next room, overheard me, and she said, well, RCIA starts next week. You could start going. And it started with an inquiry session that was very not intimidating for me, where basically you go, you get your questions answered. And so I started going with my best friend who went with me, and every issue that I ever had with the Catholic Church was answered. Praying to saints was a big one for me. The devotion to saints and to Mary is something that's supposed to draw us near to Jesus, and that's the reason why we do it. That kind of went along with, I wasn't completely sure that the Catholic Church was centered around Jesus. I wasn't sure about that, I didn't know, but then I realized that it was. The Catholic Church is completely centered around Jesus. Another one was the Eucharist. It kind of scared me when I figured out that Catholics actually believed that it was the body and blood of Jesus Christ. As I thought about it more, prayed about it more, the notion just became so much more of a beautiful concept to me, and it's just so much more incredible that God, would allow this miracle to happen everywhere, every day, for us. And it was a possibility as mortal humans to actually touch Jesus. I had a big problem before with authority. I thought that it was cultish, beforehand, but more and more as I learn about church doctrine and practice the Catholic faith, it's such a human necessity for us to have these rules to help us live our lives in a holy way. It's great having the sacrament of reconciliation. I'm not one to have, divine prophecies from God. I never really hear, God's voice in the morning telling me what to do, but this was one of the few things in my life that I was positive God was telling me to do. And that Easter, I was confirmed. I think the best part is it's the most direct and wonderful way to grow closer to God. As a Catholic, everything's there for you. Exploring just the theology and the history of the church, and the stories of different saints, and how God works in other people's hearts, and how other people experience God. Having an increasingly steady prayer life, and going to Mass, I feel like God has given me more of a inner peace, and a very grace-given joy, Happiness and joy are very different things, and I feel like even though I'm not always happy, I very much always have joy every day. I would certainly tell somebody to just pray. Just, God, give me the truth. Show me the truth. That's all you need. And if you keep that at a constant prayer, God will show you the truth. He's said so, and He's done it for me, and He's done it for a lot of people, and He will do it for everybody who asks.